HarperCollins presents The Indefatigable Asa Briggs, a biography by Adam Sisman, read by Ric Jerrom. Preface. Like so much in my life, this book came about by chance. In January 2022, I received a telephone call from Professor David Dilks, a retired historian and Vice-Chancellor, whom I'd known for some years. David told me that Asa Briggs's widow was looking for someone to write a biography of her late husband, who had died in 2016. My name had arisen as the author of two previous biographies of historians of Briggs's generation, A.J.P. Taylor and Hugh Trevor Roper. I telephoned Lady Briggs and arranged to visit her at the Caprons, her house in Lewes. Because this was a long way from my home in Bristol, and because it seemed sensible to spend some time in the cellar there, examining Briggs's archive, I was invited to stay overnight. I had been to the Caprons some 15 or so years earlier to interview Briggs while writing my biography of Hugh Trevor Roper. I had found him friendly and helpful. He encouraged me to call him Asa, as I have done throughout this book. He claimed to remember that I had been a student reading history at Sussex in the early 1970s, though I am almost certain that this was a pretence. I am as sure as I can be, after the passage of 5 decades, that we never met, and he can scarcely have had any other reason to remember an unremarkable undergraduate. The reason I'm not completely certain is that he did have a remarkable memory for people. On my second visit to the Caprons, I enjoyed meeting Susan Briggs, as she quickly became to me, and I was intrigued by my first venture into Asa's archive, though daunted by the quantity of papers I found there, particularly when I learned that this was the mere rump of a much larger archive now kept in Boston, Massachusetts. It was obvious, too, that the papers were in a state of disorganization, and that previous attempts at cataloguing them had not been completed. That night I retired to bed after dinner with a copy of Asa's Special Relationships, one of a trilogy of memoirs written at the end of his life, of which I had previously been unaware. As I lay in bed leafing through this, I was startled to find my own name favourably mentioned on page 8 as the writer of 2 well-received biographies of historians. I was able to produce this posthumous endorsement at breakfast time. Soon afterwards, I began work on this book. I quickly discovered 2 further archives of Asa's papers at Worcester College, Oxford, and at the Keep in Falmouth, the repository for papers relating to the University of Sussex. It was obvious to me from the start that writing Asa's biography was an ambitious project. Even just to work through the archives would be a formidable undertaking. More than that, however, the range of his activities was so wide that it would be difficult to encompass them all within a biography of manageable scale. Yet I had agreed with Susan that this was the kind of book I should write. She wanted a biography that would be read by as many people as possible, which is what I wanted too. This book is therefore selective. A comprehensive life of Asa Briggs would need several volumes and require at least a decade to write. I might not live long enough to write such a work, and I doubted that many people would want to read it. Most biographies contain an element of autobiography, and this is no exception. I realized at an early stage that my past as a student at Sussex was an advantage to me, in that I could remember both the initial excitement of
Sample complete. Ready to continue?